You know, I would really love to display this figure from the front, but that back sculpt, wow, Outer really nailed it. Hi everyone, welcome back. For today's video, you can see there's quite a huge haul, and that's because these are all figures which were supposed to be released back in February and March, but were delayed till today. Anyway, I'm really happy that they're all here and quite excited to open everything up. Usually my parcels from China reach me pretty safe and sound, except for this one today. I hope whatever's inside is a-okay. Anyway, without wasting any more time, let's open all these up. Starting off with the smallest parcel, this is from H-Poi, a reputable figurine distributor on Taobao which I'm comfortable to use. Inside the box is a box and it's by Megahouse. Yes, Megahouse figures usually come with an outer cardboard box, so that's like an additional protection. Inside, I have a pair of minifigures and it's brand new in a sealed box. Ripping the paper protection off, here is what I got. These are the One Piece Crocodile and Mihawk lookup figures. I'm collecting these little guys to fill up the bottom row of my shelf. I got these two as a set together with their bonus items, which are sadly not little minifigures like the other lookups I have. This time, Megahouse gave these drawstring bags, which have a very simple design. Mihawk's is in a purple color, just like his box. Here is the bonus item for Crocodile, and it is in this murky brown color, reminiscent of his sandy power. To be honest, I still prefer the little minifigures as bonus items. Oh wells. Anyway, back to the figures. The box design is standard for all lookups, with a big window on the front and small windows on the sides and top. The box is of high quality, but is quite thin, so the tendency to get squashed is there. Opening both the boxes up and pulling out the mini blister package for Crocodile. Crocodile comes wrapped in plastic protection with one at his neck joint. His head is rotatable, allowing Crocodile to look up. Moving on to Mihawk and taking out his blister package. Mihawk also comes with plastic protection and a sheet at his neck, which needs to be removed. And here he is, all ready to be displayed together with Crocodile and the rest of my lookups. Taking a closer look, this miniature Crocodile looks too adorable. He has a nice scar on his face and a hook for a hand. I kind of feel his smile doesn't look like him, but it's cute. He has a simple slick hair sculpt, accurate to his character design, plus his cape with the fluffy edge at the top. Overall, a fairly detailed lookup figure. As for Mihawk, he has eyes like a hawk. His mustache is adorable and his outfit is also fairly detailed. I especially love his giant fedora hat with the fluff at the side. It's character accurate and suits his look. I'm usually quite selective with the lookup figures I get since I have a limited row of space for these little guys at the bottom of my shelf. But having these two is a must. Compared to the other One Piece lookups I have, these two have much more details and captures the essence of the characters really well. Glad to have them in my collection. On to the next parcel. This is from Bilibili, another reputable distributor I like to use on Taobao. This is also a small parcel, so the figure inside isn't too big. This came with red bubble wrap, so the figure box should come out unscuffed. And yes, it looks fine. This is the tmost figure of Marin Kitagawa, cosplaying as Kuroe Shizuku by Taito. I've heard many great things about this line of figures and decided to pick it up to check it out for myself. Also, I really wanted a figure of this character, but I didn't want to pay over 100 for her Good Smile version. They look kinda similar to me, so I think I'll be satisfied with Taito's version. As for the box, like other prize figures, this one is in a thin cardboard box, so it's fairly flimsy. But I'm not expecting much considering the price I paid. Opening up the box and taking the blister package out, this figure's base is taped to the outside of the blister package and it comes in two pieces. Here is the round base, which is a nice clear orangey plastic disc, followed by a translucent red plastic heart that is sliced at the bottom so it can attach to the round base. Inside the blister package, I first have the lower half of Shizuku, followed by the upper half of Shizuku. That's how Taito managed to keep this box compact. And that's all the components that comes with this figure. Now to assemble her. Although this prize figure needs to be assembled, I am more impressed that Taito managed to fit this 1/6 scale figure into this really tiny box. It really helps in keeping shipping costs low. Also for assembly, it doesn't seem too difficult. I just need to set this torso onto this bottom piece first. But before I do that, I want to set up the base first. Here is the round disc, which has 2 big holes, and this is where the 2 big pegs on the heart goes into. The heart also has 2 holes for Shizuku to slot into. So this base is like a double combo setup, with the heart going into the round disc and Shizuku onto the heart. The peg fits into the holes quite snugly and it is not loose. That's really good for stability. Next, Shizuku has 3 plastic pegs that slots into the heart, and it took me a while to slot her into the base since I was trying to get her to be at the correct angle. I didn't want to use too much force that might risk damaging the pegs. But once she is in, she is quite fixed to the base and really stable. With the figure set into the base, I can now slot Shizuku's upper half in. There is a giant hole below her torso, and its shape corresponds to the peg on her lower half. It took quite a bit of wiggling for me, but she goes in quite nicely. Also quite firm in place and not loose at all. Last but not least is her collar, wrapped in this Ziploc bag. The chain is a real metal chain, so be careful not to wet it with sweat as it could rust. This thing simply goes into a hand with the chain hanging loosely. With that, I have the tmost figure of Marin Kitagawa cosplaying as Kuroe Shizuku by Taito, fully assembled. And she looks absolutely lovely. Considering the price I paid, I am really impressed by this prize figure. Yes, this is a prize figure and she is 1/6 scale, a really great size. Plus, the level of details on this figure is quite comparable to scale figures. Taito is really cooking something up with this tmost line. Zooming into the face, as usual, Taito has nailed Marin's face perfectly. Regardless of where you look at her from, her face seems to look good regardless. Her eye decals are fairly detailed with the shoujo style highlights, and her pink blush and mouth sculpt just looks very lovely. As for her hair, it's quite detailed for a prize figure. The strands are individually sculpted with a transition from solid dark purple to translucent light purple. There is no shading, and at a closer look, the plastic sculpt doesn't look very refined. But to me, it's okay. To beautify her hair, Shizuku has a lacy Lolita headband, and the sculpt and paintwork on this piece is neat. Plus, the lace pattern is actually textured. This frilly and lacy treatment is carried down to her dress, which looks very adorable. There is no shading on her dress, but the frills and textured lace gives this prize figure enough details to make it look interesting. Plus, the hanging metal chain is a nice touch. The same can be said for the dress sculpt on the back, where there's no shading but a nice amount of details. Also, with the various shades of purple and black colors, the range of colors on this figure is sufficient for me. The main highlight for Shizuku are her assets. And yes, I think Taito nailed the sculpt for this. It's squashed to the perfect degree. Last but not least is the base of this figure. There is definitely some effort by Taito to design this base. It makes Shizuku appear like she is floating off the heart, although the seam line on the heart looks pretty bad. As for Shizuku's thigh-high socks, it also has the textured lace pattern, which contrasts really well with her glossy black platform shoes. And if you are wondering, she is also very nicely detailed down there, with lace and very nice gutter belts. All in all, in my opinion, the only thing that sets this apart from scale figures is the paint job. The texture of the surface as well as the shading could do a lot more work. But considering the price I paid, still worth the money. Anyway, let's move on to the next puzzle. Before I get into the bigger puzzles with the bigger figures, this little guy just came, so I'm gonna throw it into this video. Let me open this up. I got this puzzle from Japan through the proxy service Tenso. Opening up the box, the first item I got is this clear file of Hoshina in a China style by Chara Ani. This version of Hoshina was originally sold at Jumpfes back in December last year, but since I couldn't win the lottery to join the merch booth queue, I couldn't get this at Jumpfes. But I could pre-order this online, so here he is. I also picked up another version of this file with Hoshina in this China style. This style really looks nice for Hoshina. It reminds me of Lau from Black Butler. This set of clear files also came with Mina, and she is in a nice red tea pile. From this same set, I also picked up the acrylic stand of Hoshina. Of course I did. He looks really good for my shrine. By the way, if you are curious about Jumpfes and the booth lottery system I mentioned earlier, do check out my previous Japan haul video. Jumpfes usually has exclusive merch, and this China-style Hoshina is one of them. I am quite happy to have this since I don't think they will be re-releasing acrylic stands. Inside the parcel, I got this mysterious envelope, and I'm not sure where this is from. It's definitely not something I paid for, so let me open this up. Taking this out, to my pleasant surprise, I got this postcard of Mina in the China style design. I guess it's a freebie from the items I got from Chara Ani. Nice. I would have preferred Hoshina, but since it's free, I'll just take it. Back to the parcel, the next item made me question Tenso's packing service. I have an A3 poster, but this box is clearly too small for it. And yes, they folded my poster. This is the A3 Hoshina poster from the second Ichiban Kuji set, and sadly, my poster had been bent. This is the D prize from the Kuji set. By the way, Kuji is like a lucky draw game from Japan, and for each ticket, which is usually about 700 yen, you can get prizes ranging from small trinkets to large figures. Anyway, for my poster, because of how this was packed, it came bent with a crease on the back. Thankfully, I don't see any crease mark on the front, and I think I can flatten this by keeping it flat for a while. Well, since it's bent, it can stand on its own for this video. Nice. Very disappointed with Tenso. Seriously. Sadly, I don't have any alternative proxy service with a Japan address. Moving on, and back to the parcel, the next item I got is the Black Butler Artbook 1 by Yana Toboso. I picked up the second, third, and fourth artbook from Japan and was just missing the first. I got this second hand, so the price I paid for a fairly thick artbook is pretty decent. Although this is used, it is still in great condition. The cover seems to have some micro scratches, but other than that, it's all good. Inside, the pages are still perfect, and the prints of the illustrations are beautiful. I really love Yana Toboso's art style, and I really want a figure from this series. Sadly, all the figures available out there are way too overpriced. I hope that Kotobukiya re-releases all their Black Butler figures one day. Okay, the last item in this parcel is once again another clear file. This is from the series 86, featuring the illustration of Shin and Lena by Shirabi, the illustrator of 86. I love seeing these two together, and I really want the next season. Please. Also, give us a figure of Shin. My Lena is missing a Shin. Now, back to the big parcels with the big figures. This is box 4, and it is from Bilibili once again. Inside, I was pleasantly surprised by this bonus item. Was not expecting it. Can you guess the figure? There is a single layer of bubble wrap, and hopefully this protects the figure since the box was damaged. Removing the bubble wrap, I have the 1/6 scale figure of St. Louis Luxurious Wheels version by Outer from Azurlane. There is another version of this same St. Louis by Apex or Elegant, and I was torn on which to get. In the end, I decided to put my faith in Outer, so here she is. But before I get into the figure, here is the surprise bonus item which I got. I'm sure Bilibili may have written about it in the product page, but I was more focused on getting the figure and probably didn't notice any notes about freebies. This is a desk mat of the illustration this figure was based off, where St. Louis is getting out of a very fancy black car. The print quality looks decent and the mat feels quite nice. It's quite a nice big freebie which I'm happy to have, and will probably put it up in my shelf somewhere. As for the figure box, this time Outer didn't use the clear plastic box. Instead, This is a nice sleek black box with a slit window on the front, top and back. The gold cursive tags are very elegant and suits this luxurious style. Unfortunately for me, my box came dented on the front side. That's what the dented box did to my figure's box. Sobs. Hopefully the figure is okay. Opening up this sleek black box and taking out the single blister package, here is the set of instructions in Japanese. And for some reason, I have 2 copies. Yay, freebie! Opening up the blister package, I first have a glossy black over base. There is a fine pattern printed on it, so it isn't that plain. This is followed by a nicely done bar stool, as well as a luxurious handbag. Last but not least is the figure of St. Louis herself. And these are all the components that comes with this figure. Now to set her up. For assembly, according to the instructions, this figure is supposedly easy to put together. All the components come loose, so I should just need to set everything up. First is the bar stool, which goes onto the base. Next is to set St. Louis on the chair. The leg rest of the stool is movable, so adjust it to align with the heels accordingly. My St. Louis unfortunately came with some stains on her thighs, so I have to wipe it down. Thankfully, the stain is not permanent and I managed to wipe it off with just water and a microfiber cloth. Oh yes, don't forget to remove the plastic protection sheet behind. It reveals a very nice back sculpt. Lastly is the luxurious looking handbag. This little piece of accessory simply slots into her arm like so. With that, I have the 1/6 scale figure of St. Louis luxurious wheels version by Outer from Azurlane fully set up. And this is a stunning beauty. You know, I would really love to display this figure from the front, but that back sculpt, wow, Outer really nailed it. For a 1/6 scale figure, this level of body sculpt is amazing. Although I don't have that other figure of St. Louis by Apex, I am quite satisfied with this. If I'm not wrong, that other one is only a 1/7 scale figure, so I may not be getting that back sculpt, but I'm not sure. Zooming in, Outer did a fantastic job with her face. It looks perfect no matter the angle you look at her from. Her eyes are gorgeous, and that very alluring gaze just draws you in. She is also adorned in beautiful jewelry, making her truly luxurious. Her hair is also very beautifully sculpted. The blue is extremely pretty, and the sculpt of the tied up curls look very natural. It's extremely stylish. There is also a transition from blue to translucent purple at the tips of her tied up hair. I don't usually like translucent plastic, but this looks really nice. Moving down the figure, St. Louis is in a shimmering and loosely hanging gown. I was skeptical on how Outer would achieve this, but I'm quite pleased with the results. The glitter is perfectly sized, and I prefer how fine it looks compared to the Apex version. One of the reasons why I went with Outer's version instead. Another flex for Outer is how they nailed St. Louis' back. It's just perfection, extremely realistic and stunning. St. Louis also carries a branded looking handbag, and it does look branded. The symbol on the back looks kinda like St. Laurent's logo. But as for the bag design, it looks like Chanel's flat bag that was 12,000 euro. I know nothing about branded bags, but this looks fancy and suits St. Louis' elegance. As for St. Louis' sculpt, I think Outer actually sculpted her completely, and the dress is added on top like a second layer. Yes, this means you can potentially force cast her off. And yes, what's inside is indeed sculpted and pink. But why would you do that? The dress is so pretty, especially with the way it flows and drapes onto the floor. I'd rather keep it on. Moving on to the base, St. Louis sits on a simple bar stool, which only purpose is to make the figure stand out more. The seat is transparent and the support is just silver. As such, even St. Louis' heel stands out when put against the stool. The paintwork and the sculpt of these heels are so intricate and beautiful. All in all, I'm really happy to have stuck with Outer for this figure. They really put out great stuff. My only issue is that this figure is pretty loose, so moving her about can be quite troublesome. Also, although this dress has quite a nice shimmering effect, I think the glitter is falling off. You can see some of the specks on my base and I'm quite worried it might all drop off one day. Hopefully that is not the case. Anyway, that's all for this figure, so let's move on to the next parcel. Okay, the last parcel in this haul, and the biggest one too. This is also from Bilibili, and just like the box, what is inside is huge as well. Despite the size, there seems to be sufficient amount of bubble wrap to protect this box. And here is the giant figure which I picked up. This is the 1/4 Magical Parade Bunny by Solarain, illustrated by Vexa. Vexa is an artist which I am not too familiar with, but if I'm not wrong, she is from Korea. Whether or not I know her, it doesn't matter because that's not stopping me from getting this since it looks awesome. Like all other 1/4 figures, her box is huge. It's in a pink and dark blue color with holographic-like symbols and text printed on. A cleverly thought through design, I feel. The box is also very sturdy, so that's a plus. Opening up this box, and its many flaps inside up, and pulling out this very heavy blister package, I first have a bonus shikishi board featuring the illustration this figure is based on. She looks interesting, right? Gives me Nonon vibes. Next is the set of instructions, which comes in Chinese with a Japanese translation. So many steps. As for the figure, she comes in not just one, not two, but 3 very big blister packages. So many parts to go through. Starting off with this blister package, inside, I first have a piece of plastic card, which is white on one side and red on the other. Next is another pair of cards, and all these cards look like poker cards, but are not. Here is the third piece, which is smaller in size but of similar design. And lastly, here are 4 more tiny cards, which are also similar in design. Only one is red on the other side. Moving on, the next item in the package is this black glossy bag, followed by this shiny silver sword and a big sword holster. Okay, on to the next blister package. This one only holds the Magical Parade Bunny's massive twin tails. Both of these pieces have a unique shape with very nicely sculpted curves. Lastly is the third blister package, and at the top, it actually has a 4th mini blister package. This holds more freebies which came with the figure, including this little card featuring the illustration of the figure. On the back, it's pink with the figure name, the company Solarain, as well as Bilibili. More interestingly, here is an acrylic stand of the chibi-fied Magical Parade Bunny. This is nice, but I don't think I'll use it. I'll probably just keep it back in the box. As for the big blister package, this bunny comes with an alternative hand part, and here is her base, which has a very interesting design. Next is a very thin sword, which looks like a fencing sword. And lastly, the figure of the Magical Parade Bunny herself. And that's all the components that comes with this figure. Now, to assemble her. The instructions are kinda daunting and I'm starting to regret assembling this figure in this same video. Anyway, since she's already here, I might as well get started. Here is the base, which has a metal pack, 2 plastic packs, and a couple of slits. For the figure, she has 3 holes under her heels to slot into the base. She slots in quite easily, but her legs needs to be spread apart a bit to reach the packs. I hate doing this, but it wasn't too hard for this bunny. Next are the cards, starting with this big one. It has a slim pack that slots into the slit in the base over here. This smaller card also has a similar design, and it goes into the base the same way. As for the pair of cards, it also has a slim pack and that slots into the slit on the base as well. Lastly is this card, which seems to be sliced. And I'm assuming this slice is supposed to align with that pair of cards, but I don't think I put it in right. Oh wells. Next are the twin tails, and these are really heavy. They both only have plastic packs which are fairly thick, and I hope it's enough. First up, the head can be removed to make it easier to insert the hair. Also, to remove that plastic sheet. Her neck joint has a metal pack, and I was hoping the hair pack had this as well. Anyway, there are holes below her hair in different shapes corresponding to the different twin tails. Because of the weight of the hair, I find it kinda hard to slot this in without damaging anything. Also, I don't think I managed to slot them in completely, although they seem pretty secured quite tightly into the head sculpt. Well, I'll just keep it as it is and slot her head back on. It goes in quite smoothly when at the correct angle. On to the accessories. Here I have her glossy bag, and this little thing is magnetic. It sticks to her bum like magic. Next is her fencing sword, which is in a nice metallic red color with an intricate looking handle. This simply slides into her hand, and she seems to be gripping this quite firmly. Next, there is a hole on the side of the bunny, and that's where this sword holster slots into. It has a really tiny plastic peg, and I feel that the straps of this holster are quite thin and could potentially snap, so be careful when handling it. It also shakes a bit when the figure is moved about. Next up is her sword, and there are two ways to display this. One is to swap out her hand with this alternative hand part to hold the sword instead of the fencing sword. The other, which I'm going for, is to just slot this sword into the holster. Next, on the fencing sword, there is a black cap which is not supposed to be there, so remove it. That's because these two cards, with holes in the middle, are meant to slot into the sword. I do this very gently to avoid scuffing any paint. The holes on the cards are perfectly sized to stay in place on this sword. Last but not least is another small card, and this one simply slots between her fingers over here. It's loose, so be careful not to lose this little card. With that, I have the 1/4 Magical Parade Bunny by Solarain, illustrated by Vexa, fully assembled. And she looks magical, brimming with so much details to admire. Also, it scratches that itch I have for a nonon figure. At 1/4 scale, she is about 43.5 cm, and together with her twin tails, she is massive. All in all, I am really impressed by what Solarain has put out for this figure. For a 1/4 figure, this is the kind of design and details which I'm expecting from freeing. And I'm really glad that Solarain is now in the competition to make freeing a little bit nervous, I suppose. Zooming in, I can't quite say that her face looks exactly like the illustration, but it looks quite nice. It also doesn't look weird from different angles, so I would say a decent transition from 2D to 3D. But the best viewing angle is from here, as per the illustration. My main nitpick is her tongue sculpt. It looks like she has a thick lower lip instead of a tongue sticking out. Well, it's not like it looks weird, but it's just not quite like the illustration. As for her hair, it's massive, it's heavy, and I hope it does not drop off. But disregarding that, it's beautifully sculpted. The curls look so natural, and there is also a transition from a saturated pink at the top to a lighter desaturated pink at the tips. It's nice, but I feel they could have thrown in some darker shades of pink to make it look much nicer, just like the illustration. Or perhaps the hair curls could be more fine. Maybe that will make it less heavy. On top of her hair, this figure has a tall top hat. I love this military parade hat. If a figure has it, I'll most likely readily open my wallet up. As for her outfit, it also adopts a military combat design with many belts and buckles to strap her skin-tight suit on. There is an array of textures from matte to glossy, as well as colors from grey to black and white, all with a very nice amount of shading. The tinge of reds at the trimmings and gloves also adds a nice pop of color to the figure. On her chest, the white portion also has intricately sculpted symbols, which adds a nice detail. Also, the way the various straps eat into her skin is very nicely done. The creases in her tights are also very realistic looking. On the back, she has a black bag, and I love how it is magnetic. The paintwork on this is also very neat. Next are her weapons. I really love the sword holster since you can actually put a sword inside. I'm just worried if the strap is strong enough to hold the weight. She also has a fancy fencing sword, and it's nice to have the cards pierced into it. Last but not least is the base. Unlike other 1/4 figures I have, this has the most interesting base thus far. There are poker-like cards slot into it, and the graphic design on the round disc matches the concept of this figure. It is also quite thick and feels very stable. This girl doesn't wobble much when I move her about. However, I'm not sure if I managed to slot her into the base completely, since you can still see a bit of the peg from the side. Well, on a good note, those are really cool looking shoes. There is a metallic-like sheen on them, and the mecha-looking boots matches the military combat style of this figure. A complete package delivered by Solarain in my opinion. As awesome as this figure is, I still have some issues with it. And the main issue is the weight of the twin tails. They are pretty heavy, and the pegs are just plastic pegs. I am quite concerned that they will drop in future, yet there are no support rods. Sure, support rods will look really bad, but I think it might be necessary. Hopefully this girl stands the test of time. Other than that, this bunny is truly magical. Although I'm not sure where the bunny part of her is. She has no ears. And that's all for today's video. Unlike the previous month, there are a ton of figures this month, and I'm happy to report that they are all in perfect condition, except for St. Louis box. Anyway, let me know in the comments below what you think. Did anyone go for elegant St. Louis? How is she? I'm curious. If you enjoyed what you saw, do leave a like and subscribe with notifications to stay tuned to more videos. Until then, I'll see you next time. Bye bye!